How you guys doing? Joseph and Bogdan, how are you? Brian, good to see you. Clyde, how are things out there? Oh boy, well, winter is here. Um, what I want to talk about. Oh, by the way, okay, sound and video are good. Oh, thank you, Brian. Hi, hi, Hater. Henry, how are you? Hey, Vinyl. Julian, good to see you. Neighbor, how's it going? I think we got a not so bad day. Tomorrow we're in for the storm that's been coming across the country. Hi, Mask. Um, uh, Let me talk about uh, what I've been thinking about. Oops, let me get this some of my stuff here. I've been thinking about horology. I've been playing around with these different movements that I have. These are inexpensive clones of mainly of a 6497 and 6498. This is a 6497 I had wound up last night, and see if it's still kicking in there. I guess I didn't set it correctly, but I mean the time on this thing right now is showing about 6:30, and it should be showing about 8 o'clock. It could have stopped. I don't know what it was, but I mean this is not considered top horology. However, when it's only off by an hour and a half, I figure, okay, that's good. Anyway, I'm not sure whether that thing's been running all night or not, or even I had it set right. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. Um, Hi, Graham, Caesar. Good to see you guys. Oh boy. Uh, Hi there, acrylic name. I'm not sure what it is, Mr. Sunshine. I'll call you that. Um, Anyway, let me sort of give you a rundown on what I've been thinking about. The When a movement is adjusted, it can be adjusted to a number of different angles. Okay, this is one, two, three, four, five, six. So those all six positions. And what I found is that there is a difference. I hook it up to a time grapher and can see that the watch works better at one angle than another. And I the question is that if it works, I mean, if it's tested to uh, those different angles, I mean, how much for how long is that going to last after the watch leaves the shop or leaves the machinery? And the other question I had is that uh, our Larique watches are all done by hand, and so they have some guy there with I don't know what exactly it looks like. From This is from Agenor, the movement is. And so I sort of wondering is that okay? So you get something, you go down, you get a let me think of one that let's say a Vacheron Constantin or an Audemars Piguet. I don't know. Are they done by hand too? I mean, do they have hand testing, or do they put them in one of those big machines? I've seen the big machines. For example, I think like Rolex is put into a big machine and they're tested and so forth. And I think most I think other watches, except for a few that are handmade, are tested that way, and so they put them in the old machine and bump, bump, dump, dump, and go through all of the angles, or they just go through a couple. A lot of these, you'll see that they're adjusted. I think the ETA has 4 different levels, and the first level, I think it's adjusted to 1 or 2 positions. Then the elaborate is adjusted to, I think, 3 positions. Maybe it's only 2, and then there's the top position. It's, I think, adjusted to 4 or 5, and then they have the COSC, which is adjusted to COSC standards. But I guess I mean, is a watch that is, the whole thing is put together by a machine using either artificial intelligence and along with nanotechnology, and the old machine goes to town on it and puts it together and tests and does everything to it, versus something that's done by hand and you have someone who's adjusting it and doing all these things to it. My old watchmaker disappeared after the pandemic. He was like 84 years old, and he didn't even use a time grapher. I don't know how the guy did it. I think it was like, the pinball wizard. He did it by sense of smell and something. But whenever he worked on one of my watches, when he was finished, the thing was perfect. And he didn't use a time grapher. So I don't know what he used. I think he was wired for it. On the other hand, I spent so much time with the precision of computers, and having programmed myself, and even having done a little of the hardware development. I did it for a robot one time, and so I'm thinking, I know those things. Those things are divided into very precise measurements. And I was wondering, what makes the good horology? Is it some guy who is sitting there with your watch, and I'm sure that they have a machine, maybe something like a time grapher. I think it's a very good time grapher, not like the cheap one I've got, but they'll put this thing into it and put it through its paces, I guess. I'm not sure how that's done, but that's time consuming. They do it one level, and then this, and then this, and this, and this, and this, all of those different positions for adjustments. Anyway, so, and then you have, this is why I suppose I probably whine too much about using silicone hairsprings. Yeah, they work great. So does a quartz watch. So does a smartwatch. In fact, they work better than, you can stuff all of the silicone hairsprings in that you want, and they're all going to be, pretty much identical. Whereas if you have one from transitional metal, like the Rolex Parachrome, like the H. Moser Straumann hairspring, like the Straumann hairspring we're using, along now the new ones are going to be matched with a Straumann balance, which has gold weights in it. But the point is that the talk about high horology, I think, has become somewhat of a shibboleth for marketing, to tell you the truth. And the finishing is one of the big things. Well, finishing will make it look nice, and the better the finishing, but is that high horology, or what the French call, let me mispronounce that, high jewelry? Haute jewelry, something like that. Forgive me for my pronunciation. So anyway, that was what I thought we could kick around today, and looking at, I don't know, some of these ones either that I've broken or I've been working on. Here's another one I've been working on. This is the one that's part of our project, and I got it going, and every time I wind it up And for the time right now, I don't have the minute hand on yet. Thing keeps great time. And this is simply 6498 clone from that I got on AliExpress from China. And the thing keeps great time. And then I have my Urban Jerkinson, it keeps great time. And then this one keeps great time. But is what makes it the kinds of horology that is the best kind, rather than talking about high horology. I don't want to talk about that anymore because so much of it is marketing. I think the important thing is talking about excellence in mechanical horology. Now, that's sort of what I wanted to kick around with you guys today. So, hey, John, Travis, Adam, how you guys doing? Uh, Chris? Okay, Omega says that they developed an adjustable silicone hairspring. Yeah, I saw that. It's sort of adjustable. Okay, I've seen that. It looks like what they have seemed to do is segment it, a piece of silicone. You know, if we're talking about the technology, the silicone technology, what it took to make a hairspring out of silicone, now that was no small feat. It really wasn't. But by the same token, it doesn't work as well as quartz, which is silicon and oxygen. And this is, I guess, this is sort of the. I mean, people talk about, well, you're a Luddite, you don't like putting silicon hairsprings in. That's not it at all. A Luddite is somebody who doesn't want any kind of progress. If if I want progress, I'll get a smartwatch. My wife has this Apple smartwatch. That thing tells you everything. Okay, everything you want. It'll tell you how far you've walked. It'll give you the right time because it's cooked up into some kind of atomic clock in a mountain somewhere where they have the absolute correct time. But that's not the kind of thing that I think that sort of the traditional kind of watchmaking that has any interest to me. Anyway, so let's talk about that. And by the way, too, I think a lot of high horology deals with finishing. In fact, I know it does. And finishing is nice, but really, like I said, this is more of a make it look nice. Now, can you have something? Let's take a piece that is just beautifully done, totally weighted just right. Everything about it is peachy keen. And maybe it's not as pretty as some of the others. That doesn't mean it's not great horology. You can have great horology on that in terms of something that really works well. And that's something I wanted to kick around with everybody today. So, okay. Alex, what do you think? Okay, Omega is COSC. Yeah, sure they are. Their meta's confirmed and they got silicon in them. And that makes it a lot easier. Hi, Hater. I take an agate pit over the adjustable silicon in a heartbeat. Yeah. Okay, it's a great thing, Hater, that you brought up. Funny thing, we had this planned. No, we didn't. The agate pit is my idea of progress in horology. I mean, in let's say we'll call it excellent horology. What Jean-Marc Wiederrecht did of Agenhar is that instead of having a little sort of little pointer or having a swan neck for adjusting the frequency and the beat, he has right here, he put in something called the agate pit. And so you take a screwdriver and you turn it and it fixes it one way or the other. And then you have another set of screws on the same thing and you click it and it deals with the beat. So you have something that does both of them. Now, whether or not, that I would argue or anybody else would argue that that's the best way to do it, really isn't the point. The point is that there was something in traditional horology that was improved, not something that was brought in a new technology. You can bring in a new technology. You could have a plastic watch if you wanted, and that would be, I wouldn't claim that to be especially good horology. Okay, let's see what you got. Oh, Rancher Luddites are super fans of Alan Ludden. Well, that's what I am as a Luddite. Let's see. I don't like silicon because it won't last. I don't know. Mask, it could. I don't know. I mean, it's like all of this technology that we're using to have this live stream very much dependent on silicon because my computer is full of silicon. My old girlfriend is too. Just kidding. To get in trouble. Oh, do you find how do you find what hairspring a movement is using? Vinyl, that's a good question. They sometimes they tell you. That's sometimes they don't. Um, for a long time, like for example, FP Jorn was using Navarox, the one that the ETA hairspring, that was the one they were using, and they never said what it was. Very, very few companies make their own hairspring. Beauvais does, H. Moser does. Um, Carivut and Lana uses a Strawman hairspring that is by Precision Engineering. But anyway, that's what. Let's see. Well, it's sort of we're sort of in a funny situation. We know we have. In fact, we've had it for years. You just take a $10 quartz watch, and it's going to keep better time than your most expensive Gerbil and Forcé watch. The issue is with mechanical within the realm of that, especially stuff that we can play with. That's the most important kind. Is that how do we get it? The metas and COSC, yeah, but it's sort of like when the Japanese brought in quartz originally, they used to have this annual Swiss accuracy contest. And once the Japanese brought in the quartz, it just beat everybody. And so they quit having it, which is sort of interesting. And then they said, oh, we better do something. And so it's sort of what the idea that was to replace quartz was to have what they call high horology. But it was so loosey-goosey in the definition that it didn't make a lot of sense. And I don't find it the most useful thing for judging good horology. And what I know from using my Larique watch, it's accurate. That's the only thing I have to go on. And that's what I like. But I think a quartz watch is going to be more accurate, and I'm not going to like it as much. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's hear some brilliant ideas. How you doing, Robert? Travis? Okay. There has to be hard work to be excellent, exceptional. The human element is critical. Good horology and machine work can't be compared to apples with exceptional horology and handwork. Yes, I think one of the things that we get is craftsmanship, and there's some value to that in the sense that, yeah, I got something that was handmade and that was taken, and somebody who is an expert or has expertise. Yeah, I think that's. It's sort of like the difference between a print and an original painting. Okay. Humans bring the art to the watchmaking. Machines can't do that. I agree. How old is your computer? Not very old. This one, it's only a couple of years old. It's a Mac. I've had my first Macintosh was in 1983, and some of you may point out rightly that they didn't come out until 1984. That was because I had an early one. Before that, I had an Apple II. On the Moser double hairspring, they still have a couple models on the site that have them. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Mask, they just reintroduced it, I think. They don't have the Henry. I've got the Henry. Boy, that thing is that's another example of constant force. I think that I think is the thing that is most interesting to me is some version of constant force. On my last video, I discovered a dual barrels in parallel on a Patek Philippe sort of entry level, $30,000 for entry level. And I was hoping against hope that they hadn't stuffed in those silicone hairsprings to no avail. It was really funny. They had a list of them, and all of them have that some kind of, I forgot what the silicum or something like that, the name for the silicone hairspring. And so, going down the list of the Patek Philippe, what springs they had, and they all had the silicone ones, and then it came to the, I guess, the Calatrava Claude Perry, the hobnailed version, hand wound, everything I love about a watch. Turns out that they did have silicone in it. They weren't saying it. Why would it kill them to put a Straumann in? It was like all of the really good ones, but instead of going with a Straumann, and I guess Rolex wasn't about to let a Parachrome hairspring separately. There are a lot of things they could have done, but they said, well, we'll go with silicone. Sure, all right, go ahead. I'll go get a quartz watch and call it a day. If you're going to start doing now. Hey, Adam, what's up? On the Moser, double hairspring, they have a couple of models. Yeah, they sort of reintroduced them. Hey, Tim, how you doing? I want to remind you, Tim, wherever you are, it may not be 5 o'clock, but remember, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Anyway, okay, so let's hear from you guys. What are some thoughts on how we, really what is good horology, and why is it? Let's see, why would something like this? This is my, like I said, this is high horology, a enamel dial, got all of these other things on it. I've got to rebuild it because I needed a little more room for the minute hand, but why would something with silicone be any better than this? By the way, too, let me show you something. I don't know if you can see it or not. Where is it? See, there's a little adjustment stick right here, and you push it one way or the other to adjust it. And I can adjust that thing to 0 plus or minus, so pretty close to it with that. And I'll wind it up. Is that great horology? No, it's horology that I can adjust. On the other hand, what was it on the Moser HMC 20? What they had on that was a little surprising in a good way is that it was either the first one or they had updated it, but they had these little gold weights. They called them gold little masses at the tip of the here you have the balance wheel, and then you have these spokes, a T on the spokes, and then at the end of the spokes, they have these weights, and that's how you adjust it, as opposed to those ones that look, the porcupine weights on the outside of the of it, which is, of course, if you're really good, you can adjust those. Hi, Belvia man. You always miss out Nomos make their own hairspray. I don't, I don't claim to know every hairspring Belvia man. Good grief. Quit picking on me. I'm old. Okay. Hey guys, did you know that Nomos also makes their own hairspring? Yeah, no, let me see. I'll tell you who makes their own hairspring, and they make it for a lot of other people too. Through the vertical organization is what are they called? Culpa, Alto Culpa, Alto Culpa. Who's Alto Culpa? They make something like 200,000 hairsprings, but who Alto Culpa is? They are the hairspring making organization within the Sandoz family foundation organization, which makes everything for Vaucher, which makes everything for the Parmigiani watches. Hey, hater, I don't think using machines is a bad thing. This it's not a bad thing per se. This is the I worked so long on writing programs that would for machines, and right before I retired, I was starting to do it for smart watches and iPhones and things like that. And yeah, that's why we make machines, and a lot of the work is done. I mean, like you have a CDC for doing the guilloche and a lot of these other things. And in fact, a time grapher for it really is a machine that we use for adjustments. What I think that they have is that they have the machines. You got to watch and they set up the movement there, and the old machine says, okay, it looks at it and does all these things. There's a company, and I wish I could remember the name, that is owned by Festina, by the Festina Group, which is a Spanish group. They own Soprod. And let me think. Anyway, what they have this using nanotechnology. They reproduce the teletime movement. They apparently teletime had a movement, and then they sort of went under, and Festina bought them. And then they have another company whose name escapes me right now, that basically they got all these smart machines, and they can take the blueprint or whatever they use to make a movement and reproduce it really as what it is. Now, I don't know how you feel about that. I don't have a problem with CNC or whatever it's called that does the guilloche, because I know it's more than just a little work on the thing. But on the and I suppose I don't have a trouble with it adjusting it, but I'm not sure about everything. Yeah, Rancher. Yeah, this is my Urban Jurgensen, my little old Urban Jurgensen. Yeah. Hey, Travis. There are some incredible things that humans just can't do. That's where the idea of exceptional gets fuzzy. I don't know. I sort of like the image of deaf, dumb, blind kid who's a pinball wizard, like my, I don't know, I like my, I don't know, my former watchmaker, 84, I think he was 84 years old. He got, okay, shake it and thinking like that. The thing is just spot on. And so you have something that is, I don't know, it's sort of, I think we're fooling ourselves to say that it's okay to use sort of the new technologies in one place, like the sort of synthetic, well, not synthetic, but metalloids and things like that inside the watch, and yet for timing we have to use our time grapher. So Travis, I think, yeah, there's some things that I don't know if they can't do those things, Travis, or they simply lost the ability to do that because they have depended on machines. Is a spring drive a good technology? Okay, I'll answer that, and I gotta run because my time is up. The spring drive technology is excellent technology. Okay, it's outstanding technology, as a matter of fact. This is the Seiko spring drive, which basically has a sort of a system of generating enough electricity to run a quartz that runs a watch. And so this is simply a quartz watch that, instead of using a battery, it uses the movement of your wrist, just like an automatic does, to wind it. But instead of winding it, it gets enough electrical charge to run the watch. Now, there's some other stuff to it too, but it's brilliant technology. But as horology, it's sort of like, well, sort of like we want to go back to the accuracy of the old quartz watch. The thing is that I don't know. I think the accuracy is very important, but the accuracy in the sense that it speaks to good traditional horology. It speaks to good craftsmanship. That's what I think. On the other hand, you say, well, I can make it more accurate by adding silicon to it. Sure, you can. Why not add the whole thing and have the whole thing done that way? And you end up with a smartwatch that tells you who's going to win the World Cup. It gives you everything. Anyway, guys, thank you for your input. You guys had some great stuff today. I love getting all this stuff. And then later on, I'll take credit for knowing it because of something I got from you guys. Anyway, this afternoon we'll be this afternoon and this evening it'll be 4:00 New York time, and we'll come again. I will bug Rancher yet again to what's a good topic, Clyde, so I can go on to the next step. Okay, take care, guys. Be safe, and see you later.